Get ready to hear the truth about America on a show that's not immune to the facts with your host, Dan Bongino.
Folks, this is going to be one of the most important shows I've done. I know I say that a lot, but I genuinely mean this. I mean it every time I say it. What is China up to? How are they doing what they're doing? How are they using people like Joe Biden and his family? How are they using Wall Street? What is Wall Street? What do you mean, what is Wall Street? Well, when people say they're using Wall Street, what does that mean? Wall Street is literally a street. Wall Street in New York City. My wife worked down there. What does that mean? Who are they talking about? How are they using Wall Street? And who works in and around Wall Street? Finally, we're going to wrap up this segment because it's important. You really need to hear this with a just incredible piece by Glenn Greenwald in his Substack, laying out the China problem right now in the United States, the Hunter Biden problem, and the Wall Street, China, Hunter Biden politician problem all in one. Today's show brought to you by ExpressVPN. What do you think of that tease, Paula? I do these teases exclusively on Parler in the morning. She's giving me the nod. Okay, we love it. Today's show brought to you by ExpressVPN. Speaking of people trying to steal your data and stuff, get a VPN now. Surf online in peace. Surf the web in peace. Go to expressvpn.com/Bongino. Get a VPN today. Don't wait. Welcome to the Dan Bongino Show. Producer Joe, how are you today? Fine, sir.
Hey, I'm doing good. Hey. I'm doing great, man. Good to be here.
Yeah. Was that a double?
How you
missed
feeling,
the first
pal?
day? Yeah, I'm doing good. Thank you. I know Joe gets to see me on camera because the camera goes live. By the way, folks, big plans coming for a live stream. Hopefully we'll have something to announce in the coming weeks. Big plans. That'll be interesting. You can see me and Joe screw up in the show live, which happens all the time. But Joe gets to see me on camera. Had a couple rough weeks, but I'm doing good, folks. Thanks for all your concern.
Good, man.
Seriously, your emails and Facebook messages and Parler stuff and all. I love it. I'm doing great. Don't you worry about me. I am A-okay. Let's fight this election. All right, let's get to it. Loaded show today. Today's show brought to you by our friends at We the People. If you're one of the millions who exercise their Second Amendment rights this year, give yourself or someone special the perfect accessory to go along with that perfect firearm. Give an American-made holster from our friends at We the People Holsters. This is legit. An actual We the People holster. It says We the People. This is mine. It's for my Glock 43. Starting at just $40, We the People holsters are custom molded to fit your exact firearm. Precision molded. This is not some one-size-fits-all crap inside the waistband holes. This is precision molded to your specific firearm. They have thousands of options, including an amazing selection of printed holsters. Again, this is mine right here. The proprietary clip design allows you to easily adjust the cant and the ride, so it's comfortable and secure at all times. Go to thepeopleholsters.com/Dan. And while you're there, check out their premium printed hoodies, long sleeve shirts. They're building out their brand here, tumblers, and other patriotic gear that make great gifts for you and your friends or the Second Amendment enthusiasts in your life. Every holster ships free, comes with a lifetime guarantee. If it's not a perfect fit, send it back for a full refund. Here's where you go. thepeopleholsters.com/Dan. Get an additional $10 off with the offer code Dan. thepeopleholsters.com/Dan. thepeopleholsters.com/Dan. All right, Joe, let's go.
All right. How you like that, baby?
I love it. Quick on the, very nice. The Kenny Bell. I love Kenny, but the Kenny Bell sitting here, it's getting dusty. The last few days, we haven't needed the Kenny Bell. So let me walk you through how this is going to go down. First, I want to talk about what is China up to in the United States. This has been a big topic of conversation since Tucker did that fantastic monologue the other night on Fox, and since John Ratcliffe, our director of national intelligence, wrote that stunning op-ed in the Wall Street Journal last week. Everybody's going, hey, listen, what the hell is going on? We have a major foreign intelligence threat in the United States, the communist Chinese, and there's a political party, the Democrats, that don't seem to care at all. And not only that, seem to be in bed with them. What? How are they doing what they're doing? Part two, will we ever get to the truth about what's happening and what the Chinese are doing? The answer is not with the media as we have it now, because they're in bed with the Chinese too. I don't mean that figuratively in some cases. Finally, I'm going to go through a description of that, what they're doing. Will we get to the truth and who's involved with this Glenn Greenwald piece? So let's get right to it. Number one. How is China doing what they're doing, influencing the United States for the benefit of communist China and not the benefit of you? China's interest, U.S. interest. China's interest, U.S. interest. Those are not the same thing. Okay? China's interest and U.S. interest rarely, if ever, intersect. Liberty and freedom, United States. Not liberty and freedom, China. Capitalism and free markets, United States. Not capitalism and socialism, China. Those don't intersect. It's like opposite pole magnets, Doesn't work.
Yeah.
How is China doing what they're doing? I wrote out a little thing for me. I do my own little diagrams for myself. So China has decided that they were going to work on parallel paths. China needs to influence people to do things in the United States that are not in the United States' interest or China's interest. So they take a parallel path. Path one is they influence Wall Street and business leaders. What exactly is Wall Street? Wall Street obviously is where the New York Stock Exchange is. So I hate when people say they're trying to influence Wall Street. What specifically does that mean? They're not on Wall Street selling Sabret hot dogs or something like that. Remember that for you New Yorkers? But you know exactly what I'm talking about if you grew up in the 80s in New York, right? That's not what they're talking about. They're talking about big business and big corporations that are listed on the New York Stock Exchange, which is down on Wall Street. How would China influence those people, and why would those companies do things not in the interest in the United States? Because, ladies and gentlemen, a lot of those companies, whether on Wall Street or in Silicon Valley out in California, a lot of those companies have a significant business interest in China as well. It's one of these, I've been using this all week. Joe, you've heard it a few times now, but it's one of these, imagine the Chinese Communist Party like the local mob we had to deal with growing up in New York City. What the local mob does is, if you work in a bagel store or a deli or whatever, the local mob soldier comes in, whatever his title is, whatever, and he kind of says, hey, can I talk to the owner? The owner knows who he is, obviously, and comes out and says, hey, buddy, how's it going? Guy says, listen, who are you using for your private sanitation when you throw your garbage at it? Because, New York Sanitation Department doesn't pick up commercial garbage. They pick up private garbage, right? Residential garbage and stuff. So they say, yeah, we're using Joey Bag of Donuts sanitation. Guy says, I got a better idea. What are you paying for that? We're paying a couple $100 a month. I've got a better company. I've got Mr. Tony Bag of Donuts Sanitation, and I can do a better deal for $500 a month. You're like, Joe's like, I'm confused. I'm paying $200 a month for Joey Bag of Donuts Sanitation, and you're telling me you have a better deal for me with Mr. Tony Bag of Donuts Sanitation at $500 a month. It's a better deal. And wink and a nod, it'd be a real shame if you don't take the deal. Your place wouldn't, if it burned down, it'd be awful. Can we all agree? Then you'd need a whole lot of sanitation to clean out the burnt place in the woods. Yeah. And the owner gets it pretty quickly. Yeah. Joe's like, yeah, even I get it. Sounds like a great deal. And the owner's like, okay. Oh, I get it. Be a real shame if we beat up people coming out of your place every day too, right? What a terrible shame. Sounds like a great deal. Thanks. Where do I sign? That's kind of what the Chinese Communist Party does to big business titans on Wall Street, places like the NBA and tech companies in Silicon Valley who want to get access to 1 billion Chinese consumers. Hey, be a real shame if we shut you off from our 1 billion Chinese consumers you were making a whole lot of money on, wouldn't it? Be a real shame if your business burned down financially because we didn't let you bring your movies into China, right? China, which has become a significant source of income for Hollywood. So the influence operation is clear as day. It's not hard to understand. It's the wink and a nod. Be a real shame, fill in the blank. Be a real shame if you Hollywood actors and Hollywood studios who don't seem to have any problem with the Chinese imprisoning Uyghurs, Muslims, imprisoning political enemies in gulags. Be a real shame if you spoke out about that and your movie didn't show in China. And of course, because they're weak, they're like, oh yeah, it would be a real shame, wouldn't it? I better delete that tweet from remember the Houston Rockets guy, the executive with the Houston Rockets who dared to criticize China? Next thing you know, you had these phonies, fraud. Remember LeBron James, Joe? Biggest phony ever. Someone once told me, don't attack LeBron James. People love him. My hits file, if you get what I mean, to give, hits with an S in the beginning, is 0 with LeBron James and sports figures. I give absolutely zero hits at all. Everybody listen clear. Oh my gosh, if you do, they'll attack you. I don't care. Not at all. Zero. LeBron James was like, people who speak out about China, you've got to understand. Like, you better not do that because other people have interest now. Oh, okay. Thanks, LeBron. Real freedom rights. Isn't he one of these Black Lives Matter guys too, fighting for what? Freedom and social justice? Just not in China where they put people in gulags. I have zero patience for these people. You get the Tony Bag of Donuts approach China does now? They do that to the NBA. Be a real shame if you criticized us in a tweet and we pulled your team out of China. Big market for basketball in China. Be a real shame, wouldn't it? Tech companies in Silicon Valley to Facebook and YouTube and others. Be a real shame if you didn't comply with our censorship algorithms in China. Be a real shame if we pulled you out of those billion people and actually gave the billion people market in China to a competitor. Be a real shame, wouldn't it? You go to big companies that are listed on whether it be the NASDAQ or the New York Stock Exchange, the Dow, the S&P. You go to big companies. Hey, be a real shame if your cars weren't allowed to be sold in China, right? It would be a terrible shame if we then gave that market to your competitor, right? So that's path one. I have to lay this out because we get to Glenn Greenwald's piece. When he talks about Wall Street, this is what he's talking about, the real shame approach. Can we call it that, Joe? Does that make sense? The real shame approach. Yeah. He's talking about big companies and tech companies where they say, be a real shame if we pulled you out of China, banned you from doing business here, and gave the business to your competitor. Real shame. So that's one track where the Chinese Communist Party, the real shame approach, tries to influence big business and Wall Street. And those Wall Street, in turn, and big business folks that contribute to politicians and elsewhere and other causes, then talk to those politicians on their behalf. Hey, politician, Joey Bag of Donuts. Listen, I'm a big executive at big company X, on Wall Street, listed on the stock exchange. We've given you a lot of campaign donations. It's probably good you vote for this policy. Yeah, but the policy will screw over U.S. citizens in the favor of China. Hey, be a real shame if we stop those campaign donations. You see how the real shame cascade happens? The cascade downhill of real shames? China to Wall Street. Real shame if we pulled your business out of China. Wall Street to politicians. Be a real shame if we stop our campaign donations. Politicians to other politicians. Be a real shame if you don't vote along me with this because you're not going to get a committee assignment because someone told me to do this for China. The real shame cascade keeps going. Real shame. You got to wink when you do it. So that's one track, the real shame track. The second track is just to use brute force. Foreign agents to go into the United States and around the world, use sexual favors and financial bribery, just straight financial bribery. We've seen academics literally arrested out of major institutions in the United States. Not a joke, just Google it. Academic arrested for selling secrets to China. So the track two is just the brute force. Send foreign agents to go do, what do you remember the Love Connection, that show, Joe? These make whoopee. You remember that show? That's the funniest show ever. Did you make whoopee? Make whoopee with people in the United States of influence and create a bribery file. Hey, be a real. So the real shame track kind of goes into this. Be a real shame of this video. You doing your thing here got out, right? It'd also be a real shame if it got out that we paid you $50,000 a month to sell us secret intellectual property from your institution of higher learning. Be a real shame too. So they go through those two tracks. Now, having said that, now that we're intimately familiar with the Be a Real Shame cascade, I want to play this video. Rick Grinnell, who's just a fantastic guy, was our acting director of national intelligence, so nobody had more intelligence than him, literally, not figuratively, other than Donald Trump. He was the director of national intelligence. Was on Fox News last night and really kind of stunned the audience when he was talking about this whole Eric Swalwell incident, this Democrat hack congressman from California, this joke clown of a human being, who apparently may be compromised by an alleged Chinese spy. Photos of them together. He won't deny they had some kind of sexual relationship. She had an intern implanted in his office. She bundled money for his campaign. It's the very definition of being compromised. He won't deny a lot of the aspects of the story, this Democrat congressman. But Rick Grenell goes on Fox last night and brings up this crazy point, like crazy meaning like crazy pills, like my own. Not that the point was crazy. Like my head, I'm like, this is crazy pills time. I can't believe this. Remember, he had access to the highest levels of intelligence. How many more are compromised? Check this out.
We need to figure out, are there others? And I can tell you without giving away too much intelligence, this is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the leverage that China is putting on our politicians. There's many, many more.
Wouldn't the Bidens be up there in that category?
There's a variety of mayors, governors, senior people. Look, the other thing that we've got to point to is that Eric Swalwell
I can't let you
said,
gloss over that. Mayors, governors, senior officials, what?
There's a whole bunch, Sean, and more should be coming out. They've all received defensive briefings, and there's a lot more to it. This is the tip of the iceberg.
You think Grenell's just making that up on one of the highest rated cable news programs in the history of planet Earth, the Sean Hannity show? You think he just went out there and is going to throw his reputation into the Tony Bag of Donuts sanitation dumpster just to let me get a cool talking point on Fox? This guy was the director of national intelligence who just said on a nationally televised cable news program that the potential compromise of a U.S. congressman in hack Eric Swalwell by an alleged Chinese spy is just the, quote, tip of the iceberg. Maybe we should pay attention to that, folks. This is not the, wouldn't it be a real shame, wink and a nod. It's the wink and a nod that I hear stuff too. This is just the beginning. Swalwell is not the only one. How deep has the Chinese Communist Party and their agents embedded themselves in our societal infrastructure for the very interest of destroying us from the inside out and benefiting China and trying to make China the military and financial capital of the world at our expense? Can you imagine a world without the United States as the world leader? Folks, this is not some false patriotism. I'm asking you for a second to imagine a world where Chinese communists who imprison their political enemies have the largest surveillance state in the world, have a social credit system with forced sterilization and forced abortion, that if you dare speak out in public, they'll imprison you and your family and torture you. Can you for a moment imagine a world where they're in charge financially and militarily, and we are under their thumb? And I mean in charge. This is their goal. They are not kidding. They are not joking. This is not playtime. This is not romper room. The Chinese Communist Party wants to be the financial and military power of the world so we can do, in effect, nothing to respond to their threats. Imagine them being the preeminent nuclear and military power, where under their thumb, they say, you will do what we want in the United States, or you will be subjected to massive military retaliation. And imagine a future where we can do nothing about it. The world has survived under this world order we have now because the United States is bedrocked, even at our worst moments, in moral and ethical, big R, God-given rights, and it puts an emergency brake on our behavior where we wouldn't do that. There are countries we've conquered, we've given back. Germany, Japan. We just basically decimated the Soviet Union. We haven't invaded them. We haven't destroyed them and taken their property. We invaded them to liberate them. Imagine a world where China's in charge. Folks, if you think this is hyperbole, you're listening to the wrong show. All right, that's just step one. Now, step two. I just described to you what China's up to, the be a real shame approach, how they're doing it, and how Grenell's telling us that there's more to come. It's not just Eric Swalwell, that we have been, people in the United States at the senior level have been compromised. Are we ever going to get to the truth? Let me tease it quick here before I get to my second sponsor. Folks, I'm not optimistic because our media is obviously compromised too. It's that simple. That gives me no pleasure in telling you that. All right, folks, today's show brought to you by our friends at the Pearl Source. It's the holiday season. This was a great gift for my wife. Last year will be a great gift for my wife again this year. I hope I didn't ruin some of this. Surprise jewelry is one of the most popular gifts you can get for the holidays, and there's a good reason for it. You rarely go wrong, especially if you're going with the timeless classics. There's nothing more classic than fine pearl jewelry, which doesn't need to break your budget. At the Pearl Source, you get the highest quality pearl jewelry at up to 70% off retail prices. Why? How do they do that? Well, the Pearl Source cuts out the middleman, and it eliminates those traditional 5 times markups by jewelry stores. It sells directly to you, the consumer. Shop safely and securely from the comfort of your own home. Customize your jewelry. This is the best part. Based on pearl size, quality, gold type, length, and many more choices. You can see the pictures right there if you're watching us on Rumble. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful pearls. The holidays are fast approaching, and shipping carriers have an unprecedented amount of volume. Don't wait. The Pearl Source offers fast and free 2-day shipping on every order with 0 contact delivery. The Pearl Source comes with a no-hassle 60-day money-back guarantee, so it's risk-free. Plus, with more than 20 years in the pearl business and over 7,000 5-star reviews, you can be sure you're shopping from a trusted retailer. Don't overpay for jewelry. Go to Pearl Source and buy beautiful jewelry at a fraction of retail prices. And for a limited time, we got a great deal. Listeners of my show can take 20% off your entire order for the holidays. Go to thepearlsource.com/Dan. Enter promo code Dan at checkout for 20% off your entire order. If you want fine pearl jewelry at the best prices online, go straight to the source, the Pearl Source. Go to thepearlsource.com/Dan, enter promo code Dan at checkout. So will we ever get to the truth about what's going on in China? Folks, the media, sadly, not everyone, but for decades, this is not new. This has happened since the Soviet Union. The media has always put their ideological interests, some, not all, in front of the countries. They are, in fact, in many cases, the enemies of truth. They have been, whether it goes back to the New York Times covering for the Soviet Union, which we all know about, whether it's the New York Times fabricating PP tape hoaxes and collusion and nonsense and getting Pulitzer Prizes for it. The media has never been on the side of truth. They're a joke. They are, in fact, the enemies of truth. They are a propaganda machine for leftist ideologues who align with the values the Soviet Union and modern-day China promote, not with the values of freedom and liberty you promote. I'm not optimistic we'll ever get to the truth. I just read a story the other day that upwards of 30% plus of Democrats hadn't heard of the Hunter Biden story before Election Day. And if they had heard of the story, they would have voted differently. Gee, that's kind of bad news, isn't it? That the media rigged an election? Yes, rigged. YouTube, pull us off. We don't care. We can't stand. To the YouTube guy watching me, I don't like you. Matter of fact, I can't stand you. To the YouTube guy watching, double barrel, I don't like you at all. Ban my video. The media rigged the election. Rigged. I said it, YouTube. Pull my content down. Don't care. By the way, they didn't pull yesterday's down. Pull today's down. We don't care. You will only make us stronger. Yes. No, they left it up because they understand that we're about to go to war with them with Rumble. So showing you how the media, I've been warning you about forever. And folks, this is important. This is not just a story about the media. It's about a foreign influence operation in the United States whose values align perfectly with the media who claims to be telling you the truth. Showing you how the media hid China's influence with the Biden family and others. Remember, there be a real shame stuff, right? With the Biden family. Be a real shame if it got out that we gave you guys all this money. The media was more than happy to promote a farcical, ridiculous storyline before the election to hide the Hunter Biden catastrophe and his shady business dealings with China, which are now under FBI investigation. They were more than happy to hide it for it by making up hilarious talking points like this clown at Politico, who's a frequent member of our show for all the wrong reasons, the infamous Natasha Bertrand, who was more than happy to write this outrageously stupid piece. There it is, Natasha Bertrand, Politico. Hunter Biden's story is Russian disinformation, dozens of former intel officials say. Natasha Bertrand, this is a hilariously stupid person. I'm not kidding. Because I don't want to believe she is a knowing apparatchik of foreign government officials who hate freedom and liberty and freedom of the press. I don't want to believe that. So it's easier for me to believe and easier on Natasha to believe that she's a genuinely stupid person. So that's actually a pass. She should thank me and send me an email or a post on Parler thanking me publicly for calling her a stupid person, because the alternative that she's taking talking points from foreign governments aligned with leftist ideologues who hate free speech, that's really scary, and I don't want to believe that. So the Hunter Biden story was disinformation. I wonder those intel officials, where they work, by the way, and who, did someone pay them off? Have we looked into that? It was disinformation, despite the fact that we now know Hunter Biden's himself acknowledged that the FBI is looking into the case. Is that disinformation too? They just made that up. So again here, block 2. Are we ever going to get to the truth? Not with Natasha Bertrand at Politico and her apparatchik friends. Here is a great, and I mean legendary, media montage. Now that we know China has tried to influence through their real shame operation, Joe Biden's son and Joe Biden himself, the big guy, we know that now. We know there's an FBI investigation into these matters surrounding Hunter Biden. We know that. Those are facts for Natasha, who has a tough time with facts because she's a stupid person, okay? Which is a compliment. I really mean it because I don't want to believe the alternative. Here is a terrific montage. Hat Tip Media Research Center, Newsbusters. I'm going to cut this into 2 parts. It's a 2-minute montage. I'm going to cut, this is the first minute of the montage of the media. Hacks in the media, when they found out the Hunter Biden story was going to blow wide open before the election and potentially influence the election by calling out the Biden crime family. Here's the media doing their Pravda-like Soviet Union best to act as apparatchiks for anti-free speech liberals, doing their best to claim that there's no evidence whatsoever that the Hunter Biden story, despite the fact that we now know he's under investigation by the FBI. By the way, none of these people will be called out by their colleagues because they're phony, fake frauds. Here's them in a montage claiming there's no evidence. Check this out.
I just want to deal in fact, because there is so much speculation out there, and there is zero evidence that Hunter Biden or Joe Biden did anything wrong here.
We should note, again, and you and I have said this in the air many times, there is no evidence that Joe Biden was, involved in any wrongdoing.
Of course, I want to note that there is no evidence that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden has done anything wrong.
I just want to reiterate.
And let's be clear for the viewers.
There is no evidence Biden did anything wrong.
I'll note again, because it's important.
There is no, I repeat, no.
There is no evidence that either Biden did anything illegal.
There's been no evidence. There was no evidence.
There's no evidence. There is no evidence.
There is not an iota of evidence.
No evidence Biden did anything wrong.
There's really
no evidence
that Joe Biden
did anything wrong.
Nobody's ever accused there's no
evidence whatsoever that Joe
Biden did
anything wrong.
Got that?
Joe Biden did nothing wrong.
Hunter Biden did nothing wrong.
Well, wait till part 2 here. These people rigged an election. Rigged an election. They knowingly suppressed factual information damaging to the Biden crime family to make sure you didn't hear about it before the election, and they succeeded. You're a very smart audience. You're like, wait, Dan, you were talking about the Hunter Biden story before the election? Yeah, and the millions that listened to this show knew about it. Ladies and gentlemen, the country has 330 million people, and close to 200 million of them voted. Upwards of 30% of those people on the Democrat side said they hadn't heard of the story, and it would have changed their vote. The media rigged this election. Rigged it right in front of our eyes. Now, before the election, what happened is actual evidence started to surface that, in fact, the Hunter Biden story was a legitimate probe into the Biden crime family. The computers surfaced, the photos surfaced, Tony Bobulinski surfaced as a business partner of Hunter Biden saying, hey, I actually had a sit down with Joe Biden himself, Vice President Biden. I had a sit down with him as a potential business partner of Hunter Biden. And I have an actual email talking about kickbacks from the Chinese government, Chinese Communist Party, to Hunter Biden, to his dad, that they called the big guy in the emails, and other emails saying, hey, we're going to keep this quiet. We're not going to talk about Joe Biden's involvement. And when that surfaced, you would think, well, the media clearly showed that they didn't want to be embarrassed. So they retracted all there's no evidence, right? No, they went right to the Natasha Bertrand approach. Again, the stupid people we're talking about. And what did they do? They followed Natasha, because they're as dumb as she is, if not dumber. And they followed on with, hey, okay, there may be evidence, but this is definitely Russian disinformation. This is part 2 of them. Once they found out there's evidence, watch them flip the script and make it about Russia again because they think you're a moron. Check this out.
Biden's secret emails.
A really fishy story.
The Post claimed that the emails were found on a laptop computer that was brought to a repair shop in Delaware in the spring of 2019.
The FBI is now investigating whether those alleged Hunter Biden emails are actually connected to a larger foreign intelligence operation.
They may be related to a foreign intelligence operation.
Foreign intelligence operation.
Foreign intelligence.
Foreign intelligence.
Foreign intelligence operation.
For all we know, these emails are made up.
The information found on the laptop may be part of a Russian disinformation campaign.
Part of a Russian disinformation effort.
Described by many intelligence experts as having hallmarks. All the hallmarks of a Russian disinformation.
Russian disinformation
campaign.
This is a classic example of the right-wing media machine.
Don't drag the intelligence community into this. Hunter Biden's laptop is not part of some Russian disinformation campaign. The intelligence community doesn't believe that because there's no intelligence that supports that.
That was Director of National Intelligence under Trump, John Ratcliffe, at the end, who said before the election that this is in fact false. So did we get a lot of media corrections? No, you didn't. None at all. If it weren't for Axios breaking this story about Hunter Biden, the media to this day would still have America believing that what I told you before the election about the Biden crime family being compromised, to this day, you wouldn't know about any of it. Did you notice something interesting about that montage too? About how once evidence was discovered, they claimed, it was Russian disinformation. If you're watching, you see a lot of familiar figures. You see Mr. Potato Head, Brian Stelter, Costanza, one of the biggest jerks in media, just a jerk, just a real moron. And this guy has attacked me at every opportunity, totally unprovoked. He's a jerk. Then you see Fusion Ken Delanian, known for taking his talking points from Fusion GPS. Then you see the whole MSNBC PP hoaxers. Then you see all their commentators and the CNN crew. What do you notice about all of them? They were the collusion hoaxers too. Do you understand there's no level of credibility, the floor they won't break through? When you thought they were in the basement of credibility for promoting the collusion hoax for 4 years, then they promote another hoax that the case against Hunter Biden is Russian disinformation. And ladies and gentlemen, nothing ever happens. People still, not you because you're smart, serious people still take these people seriously. Potato Head, Chris Cuomo, Natasha Bertrand, despite being Marshall Cohen at CNN, Ken Vogel at the New York Times, who was told, as per Arthur Schwartz, was told by Tony Bobolinsky the emails about kicking up money to Joe Biden, the big guy, were real and never printed it. These people are not, they are morons. Why do you take them seriously? They have been totally eviscerated in their credibility. I warned you before the election this FBI case was real. Why? Because I'm familiar with how federal cases work. They all get a case number. I'll get to that in a second in a New York Post article. And yet again, we were called the conspiracy theorists. This is their trick. While they openly lie, Mr. Potato Head and others, to America and Natasha Bertrand. Don't listen to Bongino. He's a conspiracy theorist. I gave you the FBI case number. The case is not Russian disinformation. It's a real FBI case. Showing you, in case you don't believe me, by the way, that Hunter's under investigation. I don't know why you wouldn't. Here's an article in the Washington Examiner. Hunter Biden, under federal investigation. It's not a joke. Hunter Biden reveals federal investigators looking at his taxes. Washington Examiner, Naomi Lynn. I thought that was Russian disinformation. So now Hunter Biden is part of a Russian disinformation scheme against Hunter Biden by acknowledging Hunter Biden's under investigation? I'm not getting that. I don't understand that. The media told us any allegations against Hunter Biden are Russian disinformation, including Hunter Biden's allegations against Hunter Biden, who's now acknowledging Hunter Biden is under investigation. What, are you people stupid? What school of stupid did you go to? The Harvard International Business School of ignorant, moronic stupidity? Where did you go? Here's the New York Post article, which we covered, by the way, before the election. which had the FBI case number. Laptop connected to Hunter Biden, linked to FBI money laundering probe. Wait, I thought that was Russian disinformation. From the inside of the piece, you have the actual FBI case number. If you looked at the receipt they gave to the computer store owner when the FBI took custody of Hunter's laptop, it had a case number, 272D/BA/3065729, which identified, if you know the FBI's case classification, a money laundering case for an unknown specified unlawful activity in the white-collar crime program out of the Baltimore field office. This was not hard to read. Where were the journalists? Don't miss where we are. We're talking about China's influence in the United States and why this isn't a more widespread story. Because the media is part of the story. They're actively promoting misinformation and disinformation to hide China's role in the United States. Here's the Media Research Center, Newsbusters, has another piece up about these unholy alliances between China and fact checkers and people like George Soros. Oh my gosh, you can't mention George Soros. You can kiss my caboose. I'll mention whoever I want. This article will be in our show notes. Please read it. Subscribe to the show notes, bongino.com/newsletter. The newsletter is the show notes. Please read this article. It's important. Alex Schemmel, Newsbusters, MRC. Facebook fact checker relied on China and fails to update COVID numbers. What does this have to do with China's influence in the United States and the media covering up? The way the media, follow me here, suppresses stories about the truth like they do like Facebook does on our website all the time, is mainstream media folks align with liberal money to create, follow me, this is really important, mainstream media folks who lie to you. Natasha Bertrand, the companies like that, and others. These mainstream media outlets align with fact-checking sites. These fact-checking sites are funded by liberals like people associated with Soros and other big money. These fact-checking sites then go to sites like mine who warned you about Hunter Biden before the election. They do a fake fact check where they claim it's a conspiracy theory, which suppresses the Facebook post so you can't see it. And they promote at the same time Chinese disinformation, the fact checkers. Read the article. Here's the key takeaway from it. And I'll talk about these unholy alliances to hat tip David Horowitz in a minute. Facebook fact checkers are all part of the liberal Poynter Institute's international fact-checking network, which receives $1.3 million from liberal billionaires George Soros and Pierre Omidyar. PolitiFact's Truthometer ratings from the 12 days around each party's convention prior to the election show claims made by Democrats that were fact-checked by PolitiFact received 8 true ratings for every 1 false rating. During the same time period, claims made by Republicans received only 1 true rating for every 7 false ratings given to them by PolitiFact. Facebook's program has 10 U.S.-based fact-checkers. With the exception of Check Your Fact, 8 of these organizations defend the left. 1 other is a Never Trump publication. So liberal billionaires like Soros and their institute and Pierre Omidyar fund fact-checking operations that go and attack Republican websites like mine, claim stories we have now proven to be true are fake. You don't see them before the election. They rig the election so you don't see them and vote differently. And then after the election, they double down and they sit in the back pocket of China. Now, how does this get back to the anti-communists and the Chinese and why you'll never discover the truth about the massive Chinese influence operation in the United States? David Horowitz has this theory called the anti-communist theory. That we are the anti-communists because we fight for freedom and liberty, big R, God-given rights, and we always will be for everyone, even our political opponents. Horowitz has always said, when you understand the motivations of people in the press and elsewhere, and you understand that they hate you, they hate freedom and liberty. I played you that clip of that guy, Steve Call, yesterday, talking about how free speech, how they have to fight against free speech. When you understand we are their enemy and we're the anti-communists, they are the anti-communists. That's why the media, China, the old Soviet Union, George Soros, that's why they're all lockstep and they all have the same finish line in mind. The same finish line is this: crush free speech, crush liberty, empower government bureaucrats, empower socialism, and tell you to go stick it up your caboose. I got to get to my third sponsor, but I'm going to wrap this segment up about how the media, again, will never let us get to the truth by showing you NPR, how NPR is a part of it too, and how they play the same game plan all the time. Boll and Branch. What do millions of Americans and 3 former U.S. presidents have in common? They all agree Boll and Branch sheets are the softest and most comfortable, pure organic cotton sheets on planet Earth. Boll and Branch cotton is rain-fed, pesticide-free, carries the highest organic certification. That's why it's so soft. Here's a great part about it. We have them on our bed. The more you use them, the more comfortable they get. Where does that ever work? The more you use something anywhere else, the worse it gets. Not with Boll and Branch. These are great. It's like sleeping on a cloud. Love it. The only downside is when you go to stay in a hotel, you're not going to like the sheets anymore. You're going to be wanting to get back to your own. Because they work with family-owned mills all over the world to expertly weave every set of Boll and Branch sheets with the highest level of craftsmanship. It's quality you can feel the moment you open the box. Since they sell directly to you, Boll and Branch sheets start at just $160. They're $1,000 quality for a fraction of the price. Plus, you can sleep on them for a month, risk-free. Right now, you will get $50 off any sheet set at Boll, B-O-L-L, and branch.com with promo code Bongino, B-O-N-G-I-N-O. That's spelled Boll, B-O-L-L, and branch.com, promo code Bongino for $50 off. Bollandbranch.com, promo code Bongino. Restrictions may apply. $200 order minimum. See bollandbranch.com for details. Check these sheets out. You're going to absolutely love them. You're not going to want to sleep on anything else. All right, getting back to that. Sorry. Sometimes I mess around with Paul. I feel bad. She works really hard, and we try to keep our expenses low, so we don't have a huge shop behind the scenes. We should open up to a studio audience one day and do something for charity. That'd be cool. You get to see how we work and how this show works in lifetime. The live stream, you're going to get to see all of this stuff because believe me, there are a lot of screw ups. They're mostly mine, by the way. So just wrapping up the media segment, how we'll never get to the bottom of what China's up to in the United States because the media is going to provide cover and the media is our outlet supposedly for facts. Here's NPR when the Hunter Biden story broke and how it, I'm sorry, who put this up? Someone, was this John Levine? I'm not sure, but I took this off social media. So here's how it started. NPR and their Twitter feed. Why haven't you seen any stories from NPR about the New York Post Hunter Biden story? Well, they don't want to waste their time on stories that are not really stories, and we don't want to waste the listeners and readers' time on stories that are just pure distractions. Here's how it's going now. NPR, same account yesterday. President-elect Joe Biden's son, Hunter Biden, says he was recently informed he's under federal investigation over a tax matter. Over a tax matter. What did I tell you yesterday about a parallel knowledge economy? How the United States is bifurcating right now into 2 different parallel tracks? The stupid media and ignorant people crowd, the woke left, who've isolated themselves from real-world information and are weak losers. And then there's us, the strong ones who've been forced to fight for our ideas for a long time, who are bathed in knowledge and have heard point and counterpoint over and over, ready to defend our arguments. We're the enlightened ones. I wouldn't want to be on the other side. It's not just a parallel economy we need. It's a parallel knowledge economy too. All right, now I want to get to this Glenn Greenwald piece. This is in the show notes. And, I rarely call them must-reads, but this is a must-read. I strongly recommend, my father said, this is a must, Daniel. Please, this is a must. I really want you to read this. It's a long piece. It's in Glenn Greenwald's Substack. Glenn Greenwald, by the way, is not a conservative by any stretch of the imagination. He is an actual journalist who will call out both sides, but make no mistake, the man does not have right-leaning politics. He wrote this piece on Substack that describes this problem I'm talking about perfectly, just reiterating what we said, what China's up to here in the United States and how the media is covering it up. There's a lot of takeaways. I have 6 screenshots from this. All are knock 'em dead. The piece is entitled, "The Hunter Biden Criminal Probe Bolsters a Chinese Scholar's Claims About Beijing's Influence with the Biden Administration." This piece covers a whole lot. Again, be in the show notes, bongino.com/newsletter. Here's takeaway number 1, where Greenwald describes how China has cultivated Biden, Wall Street, like I said, but how the Chinese couldn't necessarily control Trump. Now, again, Greenwald's no fan of Trump, but he acknowledges that Chinese insiders themselves, from that video we showed of the Chinese insider who teaches at the institution talking openly about how they couldn't control Trump, he sums up what they said. This is fascinating. This is the opening. He says, the allegations at the heart of this investigation compel an examination of a fascinating and at times disturbing speech at a financial event in Shanghai. What is he talking about? He's talking about this Chinese scholar, Di Dongsheng, who insisted that Beijing will have far more influence in Washington in the Biden administration than it did with the Trump administration. Stick with this screenshot here. So what Greenwald is saying is this Hunter Biden investigation and the media, NPR, Natasha Bertrand, and others' efforts to suppress the Hunter Biden story and their connections to China have a lot to do with this speech this Chinese influencer put on tape last week. This guy, Di Dongsheng. He goes on, the reason Di said is that China's ability to get its way in Washington has long depended upon its numerous powerful Wall Street allies. But those allies, he said, had difficulty controlling Trump. He had difficulty controlling Trump, but will exert virtually unfettered power over Biden. That China cultivated extensive financial ties to Hunter Biden, Dongsheng explained, will be crucial for bolstering Beijing's influence even further. Ladies and gentlemen, that's a huge statement there. That a Chinese insider on tape is knowingly talking about cultivating people in the Biden family who, if he wins this election, would be the next president of the United States. They knowingly cultivated the next president of the United States as an asset while failing to cultivate Donald Trump because Trump wouldn't listen to Wall Street people China had cultivated in the past. You getting the be a real shame parallel tracks now? Why they cultivate Wall Street people to pressure politicians and why they put agents and basically hard intelligence assets into the United States to potentially bribe and blackmail people later on. Here's photo 2, where Greenwald goes into a little bit more detail about how China cultivates people on, quote, Wall Street. He quotes Dongsheng at the end of his speech, where Dongsheng said, quote, it's just because we have people at the top. We have our old friends who are at the top of America's core inner circle of power and influence. Greenwald goes on, who are these old friends of China at the top of the inner circle of power and influence and have ensured that, in his words, for the past 30 years, we've been utilizing the core power of the United States? Dongsheng provided the answer. It's Wall Street, with whom the Chinese Communist Party and Chinese industry maintain a close, multi-pronged, and interdependent relationship. Now you see why I opened up the show with a bit of a primer and an explanation on what Wall Street means. China to big companies invested in the stock market or on the stock market exchange in New York. Hey, it'd be a real shame if your company went under because we forbade you from doing business in China, wouldn't it? China's cultivated that for years. They use that. They use Wall Street, companies listed on Wall Street, and tech companies in Silicon Valley to pressure people to do their bidding. Kind of ties into the whole fact-checking thing too, doesn't it? Once we expose it, it gets fact-checked. The third screenshot. This is important too. Glenn Greenwald mentions Hunter Biden specifically, talking again about Dongsheng's speech as Chinese influencer. This is an important person in China. Dongsheng specifically referenced the work Beijing did to cultivate Hunter. Dongsheng said, Trump has been saying that Biden's son is some sort of global foundation. Have you noticed that? Who helped Biden's son build the foundations? You got it? There are a lot of deals inside all of these. A lot of deals. So a major Chinese influencer in a taped speech we now have our hands on is admitting that, basically winking and nodding, that China had some role in Hunter Biden's building out of global foundations where there was some kind of exchange, a quid pro quo. That's kind of a big deal, no? Let me get to the next one. Because now let's put actual meat on the bone here of what could have happened. Hunter Biden, did he actually receive some kind of financial benefit from China that could be used in a real shame file to blackmail him later on? What's under investigation now? Here, back to Greenwald's piece. The claims in Dongsheng's speech can be seen in a new light, given the revelations that there's an active criminal investigation into Hunter Biden's dealings in China and whether he accounted to the IRS for that income. Even CNN said that, quote, at least one of the matters investigators have examined is a 2017 gift of a 2.8 carat diamond that Hunter Biden received from China's energy firm CEFC, their founder and former chairman, Ye Jianming, after a Miami business meeting. Wow, 2.8 carat diamond. I didn't even give my wife a 2.8 carat diamond when I met her. I've offered to buy her a new engagement ring. She likes her small engagement. I didn't have a lot of money back then. I bought it down in Georgia. She loves it. She didn't want a new one. That's the kind of person she's like, nah, I don't want that. I like my old one. I didn't get a 2.8 carat diamond engagement ring. I didn't even get one for my wife now. And if we wanted to, we could probably buy one. But we don't. But Hunter got one. A gift from a major Chinese Communist Party associated official on an energy company there. What was that gift for? Was that one of those, be a real shame if this got out gifts? Be a real shame if we pulled your money stream and made you actually work for a living, Hunter? We'll want something later. Well, what do you want from me? I'm only Hunter Biden. Let's wait to see if your dad wins the presidency. We'll get back to you later. Rain check. All right, I'm going to get to screenshot 5 and 6 because they're important too. They did the double ender. China works both ends again. Wall Street, business leaders, tech companies, politicians. I want to get to that. And then finally, there are actually specific companies cited in Glenn Greenwald's piece that should really bother you. Again, he puts meat on the bone here. This is not speculation. Let me get to my final sponsor because it's important. It's a great company. And thank you again, Patriot Mobile, for your significant donation, matching our donation to Folds of Honor, a great charity in this charitable season. Patriot Mobile did that, folks. This is a good company. They put meat on the bone for you. It's a season of giving, and Patriot Mobile's back with a brand new Christmas promotion just for you. Until December 19th, get a Samsung A11 for yourself and for someone else. That's 2 phones absolutely free. Or bring your own phone and get a free month of service. With Patriot Mobile, you get the same nationwide coverage because they use the same towers as everyone else. Plus, they have plans to fit any budget. Patriot Mobile is America's only Christian conservative wireless provider. They take a portion of your bill and help supply Bibles for kids. Switching is easy. Just go to patriotmobile.com/Dan or call their U.S.-based customer service team at 972-PATRIOT. That's 972-PATRIOT. Veterans and first responders save even more, so go check them out. It's the same service at a lower price, and they celebrate Christmas proudly, too. Get free activation and a special gift with the offer code DAN, D-A-N. Go to patriotmobile.com/Dan, patriotmobile.com/Dan, or call 972-PATRIOT. Thanks, Patriot Mobile. And thanks again for your support of Folds of Honor. That was a very generous donation. All right. So Greenwald's describing this problem perfectly in his piece. China cultivating people, cultivating business leaders, cultivating assets, cultivating Hunter Biden. Again, none of this made it out into the mainstream media because the mainstream media is committed to you never getting the truth because they are liberals, and liberals are committed to totalitarianism at this point and getting rid of any big R God-given rights, including the right to speak and think freely. So screenshot 5 from the piece, he talks about the double ender, how Glenn says basically they're cultivating Wall Street and politicians at the same time. He goes back to that speech from the Chinese influencer. He says, people in the securities and investment industry, oh, sorry, this is from another piece. Forgive me. This is from another expose that was done on this. People in the securities and investment industry will find the 2020 election cycle contributing over $74 million to back Joe Biden's campaign for president, a much larger sum than Donald Trump raised from Wall Street. They added in this expose on Wall Street's connections to the Biden campaign and China. They added Biden also received a ton of financial support from leaders on Wall Street in the third quarter. At the same time, said CNN, professionals on Wall Street are shunning Trump and funneling staggering amounts of money to his opponent, Wall Street executives. CNBC reported, especially they celebrated Biden's choice of Kamala Harris as his running mate, noting that her own short-lived presidential campaign was deluged with contributions from executives in a wide range of industries, including film, TV, real estate, and finance. Ladies and gentlemen, isn't it really weird, film, TV, finance, Wall Street, that they're all donating to a Democrat party you've been told by the media is in it for the little guy? Because I'm no enemy of business. You do your own thing. But those businesses are not in it for the little guy. Can we stop the nonsense? Entertainment, television, Hollywood studios, the financial industry, they're in it to generate profits and proceeds. Why are they donating to the Democrat Party that's supposedly in it to the little guy? And by the way, isn't it weird? Crazy. Wink and a nod, Tony Bag of Donuts time. Isn't it really strange that those are the exact same companies who have significant business footprints in China, who China has implicitly threatened with the Tony Bag of Donuts wink and nod? Hey, if you don't do what we say and align with our anti-communist values, trying to fight the anti-communists because we are the communists, if you don't do that, we'll pull your businesses out of our country. So just to be crystal clear, in case you're missing what I'm laying down here, businesses that have the biggest footprints in China made the biggest donations to Biden and Kamala Harris, who are also under the thumb of the Chinese government, who's telling them, you better do our bidding, because if you don't, we're going to pull your business out of China. And then the businesses and the politicians they donate to conveniently do the bidding of China, while those politicians' sons, like Hunter Biden, are actually taking money from China. It is an incestuous circle of disgustingness, grotesquities, I just made that word up, that you're not hearing anything about outside of people like Glenn Greenwald. Here's a final takeaway. 6 screenshots is a lot from one piece, but it's worth it. He talks about China's deep ties to the same Wall Street people who are giving money to Biden and Kamala Harris and Biden's kid. Wall Street groups, including BlackRock, Citigroup, and JP Morgan, have each been given approval to expand their businesses in China over recent months. That was in a report at the Financial Times. A Wall Street Journal story from last week had the headline, China has one powerful friend left in the U.S. Who's that friend? Wall Street. The Wall Street Journal article emphasized the growing ties between China and the asset manager giant BlackRock, a firm that already has outsized influence where? In the Biden administration. Wow, what a big coinky-dink that is, huh, folks? China, Wall Street, Biden, China. China, Wall Street, China, Wall Street, Biden, China, Wall Street, China, Biden, China, Biden kid, China money, Hunter, Biden, dad, Biden, Wall Street. How is this not a huge story? All right, I got to get to this one more. A little less dramatic on the flip today. Now, you also see entertainment companies and big tech companies that have a heavy footprint in China, YouTube, Facebook, and elsewhere, others, Google. You know, Google, they're in it for the little guy too. We're all about freedom of information. Really? You are suppressing information about the election that you guys rigged by not exposing people to this? You may wonder why YouTube goes along with the China speech suppression agenda and others, and the Soviet Union's agenda, the former Soviet Union's agenda to suppress free speech. Well, they go along with it because they don't want to lose any of these companies a significant business presence in a country that's run by Chinese socialists. So YouTube put out this tweet yesterday, which we covered a little bit on the show, about how they were not going to allow basically any stories out there, videos out there questioning the election because they're YouTube, and that's just what they do. They're communists, like I said yesterday. So, Joe, just to be clear, on YouTube, you're not allowed to question the election despite significant evidence of fraud and significant evidence it was rigged by people in the media. And again, YouTube, we don't care. So they put out this ridiculous statement. But notice what is allowed on YouTube, because YouTube are frauds. And I hope you're watching some screener at YouTube right now. I genuinely dislike you, and I don't care what you do to our videos at all. We are building an entire parallel economy. And I will dedicate the rest of my life to making sure your totalitarian impulses don't find their way to an endgame. Here's what is allowed on YouTube. Here's a screenshot number 1. Hat tip Logan Hall from Daily Caller for this, by the way. So Stacey Abrams, who has still not conceded the governor's election in Georgia, Democrat who lost. Here's a YouTube video. Stacey Abrams, she cannot win Georgia's governor's race, but she does not concede. I thought we weren't allowed to put that. This is MSNBC's account on YouTube. I thought that's not allowed. I thought we're not questioning elections on YouTube. No, if you're a Democrat and you do it, it's okay. Here's YouTube, another video. This is A-OK too. This is an ABC News' channel on YouTube. New evidence of Russian interference in the 2016 election. It's George Snuffleupagus with the pee-pee hoax. That pee-pee hoaxes are allowed, no problem there. Here's more arguments against an election. Here's YouTube Hillary Clinton. This is from the Fox News' YouTube account. Hillary Clinton claims 2016 election was, quote, stolen from her. That's allowed, no problem at all. Why does YouTube go along with the China agenda to suppress free speech? Because it'd be a real shame if Google lost their influence in China, wouldn't it? Now, Facebook's involved with the scam, too, the fake fact-checking to suppress the truth from getting out there. Remember this tweet from Andy Stone at Facebook? Andy Stone's an executive at Facebook. Remember, he wouldn't even post the Hunter Biden story. We now know is true, by the way. He said, I'm not even going to post the link to it. And I want to be clear, the story is eligible to be fact-checked by Facebook's third-party fact-checking partners. In the meantime, we will be reducing its distribution on our platform. So why are Facebook and YouTube going full Soviet, full Chinese communist? Well, because Andy Stone is the communications executive at Facebook. He also was on Senator Boxer, Democrat staff, and worked at the Democrat Congressional Committee for Democrats as well. That's who Andy Stone is. Democrats, China, Wall Street, YouTube, business, China, business, Democrats. It's all big one incestuous, grotesque circle. Now you know the truth. All right, folks, I appreciate you tuning in. A couple of requests, if you don't mind. I don't like to ask a lot. You all are so gracious to us in making our show as popular as it is. It's for you. If you wouldn't mind checking out the Bongino Report, it's BonginoReport.com, BonginoReport.com for your morning news. We are a competitor to the Drudge Report, which has totally abandoned the conservatives. BonginoReport.com. And I don't plug it often, but we have a separate website as well, Bongino.com. We had a little issue with it yesterday. Forgive it. It was not our fault. We rarely, if ever, have an app, but we're always open here. And our traffic yesterday suffered a bit because we had a small issue with the website. But Bongino.com, we have great writers there. They put great content out. We'd really appreciate it if you check it out and you'd get your news in the morning from BonginoReport.com, which is a separate website. It would mean a lot to us. Just a respectful request. Just get away from Drudge. They're not doing you any favors. So we're really trying to build that out, BonginoReport.com, and the articles at Bongino.com. Please check them out. Thanks a lot, folks. Hope you enjoyed the show today. Please spread it around. Thanks to everyone on the blogs out there who shares our content. We really appreciate it, and we'll see you all tomorrow.
You just heard Dan Bongino.